Hello and welcome to the Keto Man's Club podcast.
We're glad you're here, where each week we talk about men's health and lifestyle.
We do so with the foundation of the ketogenic diet and lifestyle.
If you don't know what keto is, stick around and you'll find out.
The podcast will bring you real, honest fun.
Each week we strive to uncover the tips and tricks that you can use in your everyday life to maximize your overall health.
Find the clearest path to becoming the best version of yourself that you were meant to be.
Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Keto Man's Club podcast. My name is Chris. I'm one of your hosts, and today, as always, I'm joined by Jim and Alberto. How's it going, Jim?
What? It's the day before. What did you say?
Today, as always, was what I was trying to say. My tongue got tangled.
Oh, Chris, I love you, man. It just cracks me up. I just had it. It's all good. Yeah. I missed you guys last week in the recording, and glad to be back. I'm on P. No, wait. I swallowed and got choked. Your time is coming, Berto. Just shut up, man. No, I'm on PTO this week and catching up on odds and ends at home and getting a variety of things knocked out. And it's the first full week of October, which in Indiana means you will run your air conditioning during the daytime and your heater at night. Mm-hmm. And that's what I've been experiencing the last few days. So all is good.
Very cool. Alberto, what's new?
Not a whole lot new with me, man. Just the same old another week of work, staying busy as usual. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's not a whole lot. Not as much as is new with you now that you're officially a Texan.
Yeah. I got a truck. We actually didn't end up recording last week, even though we'd planned to, because I was sitting at a CarMax, signing papers and waiting. For everything.
Are you still there? Let's be honest.
No. They did actually get me out of there last Tuesday, but we got out of there at like 9:30 or so. It was really late. I traded in my 2004 Toyota Matrix that made it to a little over 267,000 miles.
Woo!
And Alberto, he very jokingly but very honestly has said several times that, you're standing by and you hear my car crank on and you go, "Where's the diesel?" And it was bad. It was bad. I did not take good care of it early on, and that showed later on. So I'm thankful to have a 150. I'm a truck driver now, so yes, officially a Texan.
Good for you. Good for you.
Yep, and then I started the Carnivore Keto Cut last week. We didn't get to record on last week to talk about it, so yeah, I started that, and I'm a week in, and so far so good. The macros are actually higher than what I've been eating lately, which is a little weird, but just I've been under eating more than likely, and so that is what it is. It's been going pretty good. My largest struggle, like I told Berto earlier, is getting into the gym, because I'm always on the go and always busy, and things come up, and I can't seem to wake up early enough to actually get to the. Like, I set my alarm for 6. I wake up at 6. And then things come up because I've got 4 animals that all need fed, individual things, and animals that need to go to the vet, and all sorts of different things lately. So it's been a crazy week, but a good one for sure. And then I'll talk more about it at a later time. It's been a big week for me to tell. I'll talk more about it at a later time, because we may end up actually having a guest from the company to share more about it. But I started wearing a continuous glucose monitor, and so able to watch how my body reacts to different things as I eat it. And so far, because I'm eating just strict carnivore, it's as solid as a rock, and I've had a couple low lows, but most of it's just kind of been very solid 80-ish milligram per deciliter, which is about what most people would call their fasting glucose level after a night of sleep. So I would say that it's in a pretty decent space route. So so looking good there, and using that as accountability, using that as information. So, any club business before we dive into shout outs and whatnot?
Nothing particular for me.
Okay. Well, hopefully by the time this airs, we will actually have some designs chosen. I'm working on it. This time around is kind of my choice. And so I'm working on the special or the new design for the merch. And then we just got to get that set up and get the store going. So hopefully we'll have that design done in the near future and get that going from where it is right now so that we can have things like hoodies and whatnot for winter, which would be good. So we will work on that in the next week or so. That's the only business I have to think of. So before we get into shout outs, let's do our reminders real quickly for our listeners. Make sure if you haven't subscribed, you do on whatever platform you're listening on. If you have the chance to, go over to Apple Podcast and leave us a review. We'd love to have your feedback on the podcast so that we can know how we're doing, number one, but it also helps the algorithm to make sure that other people out there get, us in front of them and as suggestions and that. So any help that you can provide there would be good because we just want to get rich, right, guys?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So just all the fame, all the glory. That's what we want. So there's that. To get all of our links, all of our social information, the groups, the online store, which will have stickers. It will at least have stickers by the time this airs. That you can order, and the and beyond that, just all of our links for everything. Go to theketomansclub.com, and that will get you to our links where you can find pretty much everything. Theketomansclub.com. So do that for us if you would. Alberto, let's start with you on the shout outs.
All right. This one was just one that popped up today, actually, and it was from a member, Tyler W. He said he went out and did some keto quote unquote grocery shopping and was asking if anyone else has done any of the same this fall. And it's a picture of him holding a buck that he got that he bagged in the back of his truck. And I always wait every year to see who's going to be the first person to post something about hunting. And this guy won the prize. Unfortunately, the prize is nothing, but good for Walter. He gets a shout out. And then since Chris bought a truck and upped his Texas game, I had to up my Texas game one more notch since I already have a truck. And I actually went hunting for the first time this weekend. And by hunting, I mean walking around the woods, making entirely way too much noise, holding a shotgun. But I had a hunting license in my pocket, so it counts.
Yes, it does. It does. I actually was in on that conversation, and my interjection was I really I didn't even realize it until I typed it, but I really do think that it's or feel like it's on my bucket list to at least once go out, kill something, drag it home, feed my family. Like there's just something in me that really wants to do that. And so luckily for me, even though I don't have any guns myself, I can connect with family. I've got family with plenty of access to such things, and they regularly hunt. We get deer sausages and things like that from my brother-in-law all the time. And so I have a feeling that, a call or two, a message or two, and I'll probably to get in on some of the action there one way or another. So I plan to actually do that and to act on that because I really do want to do that. I've technically hunted. I've sat in a deer blind with a gun ready to shoot on a Texas ranch, but it was a men's retreat on a ranch out in the middle of nowhere, and it wasn't the season, and so it's like, we're not going to find. It was just an activity to do, and it was fun. It was fun, but there was definitely an actual deer walking around. Let us kill them.
Well, let me just say that 13-year-old Jimmy did go deer hunting one time and had built a tree stand for over the summer and was ready to go rock and roll and everything. And then nobody told me about coating yourself in deer urine. And that's kind of a buzzkill when you're 13 years old and you're told to get up at 3:30 in the morning to go sit in 40-degree weather, alone. Yeah. And so, that. And then, I got to pee. So once I did that, I don't think I ever saw a deer.
Yeah.
So, no hunting for me.
Yeah. I know it's not for everybody, but it's definitely, there's something in my subconscious that's wanting to, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, Jim, what's your shout out for the week?
Mine is to David Herrera, who went to Disney and Universal in the last few days. And I love the side by sides that he shared because he went to the nth degree and went to the exact same spots where he had photos taken in September of 2018. So just a hair over 2 years ago. Same pose. Can't really truly verify it's David because he's wearing a mask. No, I'm just kidding. But still, he no numbers in the post of what he's lost or anything, but visually, yeah, dude is definitely slimmed down, and I guess it is him because of the tattoos, so we'll give him credit for that. But yeah, shout out to Mr. David Herrera for a nice job and probably a well-deserved vacation as well.
Absolutely, we all need one, I think. So along those same lines, or mentioning David, we sent him a message, and he said that he would love to be on the podcast. So we're going to work on scheduling that at some point, hopefully in the near future. And so that's going to be cool to have the chance to be able to share his, or to talk with him one-on-one, to hear his story and dig in deeper into the behind the scenes images in the making. So my shout out is going to be for George Buchanan, I guess is what it technically is. I'm not sure. But he posted a side by side of his current versus his old photo, and he says, "It makes me sick when old me pops up in Facebook memories. Keto most definitely saved my life." And the difference is absolutely striking. And I totally get where he's coming from on the whole seeing yourself and saying, how the heck did I get, how did I, let myself slip, whatever that internal dialogue is. I think a lot of us that have either lost a lot of weight or struggling with losing a lot of weight, we feel that a lot. I don't think that's strange. Being able to look back is something, though, that we can celebrate and say, hey, that was where I changed it. I made the whatever it was. So glad that he's contributing, and thank you for sharing. Okay. So we do have a guest this week, as normal, and Carlton is waiting in the wings. He's one of our members, and I've had the pleasure of getting to actually sit down and eat some of the best Kansas City barbecue that you could ever. Now, I make that qualifier, not the best barbecue that you can ever want, because that's a very heated debate, and everywhere. But I grew up in Kansas City. I've spent a long time now. I've spent 10 years total, between my two stints in Texas. So Texas barbecue has its, place in my heart. Kansas City barbecue has its place in my heart. There will be no divorcing the two from me, but they have two different categories. So some of the best Kansas City barbecue that you could ever want. Actually, that was what used to be Oklahoma Joe's. It's now Joe's Kansas City Barbecue. So welcome to the show, Carlton.
Thank you. And I was just thinking about, of course, we lived in Michigan for several years, and you were talking about hunting. Have you all ever seen the movie Escanaba in the Moonlight?
I've not seen the movie. I've actually seen the play, though.
Yes. Well, the movie is well worth watching. It has more rude bodily noises than any other movie known to man.
Yep. Sounds right. Yep. Yeah, that was actually put on by the local community theater, and pretty sure I saw it or was involved with some aspect of the production for it. I forget which. Yeah, that was definitely something they were doing, and that was a great play.
Jeff Daniels was the Buckless Uber.
Yep. Actually, did I see it in passing? Doesn't matter. Anyway, yeah, that's definitely a great movie. Something that I will probably pull up and watch again anyway, whether I've seen it or not. So, Carlton, tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, kind of where you are. Obviously, now, I said that we met up in Kansas City. You're in the Kansas City area, roughly. Tell us, just give us some of your background. And if you're willing to, JJ made it very clear in his interview with us that he didn't want us going into the age. You've shared your age somewhat, openly, but if you want to go into your age as well with some of that, you can. But give us a quick intro of who you are and all that, and then we'll get into your health journey.
Sure. So I am 61 years old. I started my keto journey 3 years ago. My daughter was getting married in January, and in August I decided I didn't want to go rolling down the aisle. So I went on a keto journey to lose some weight. My biggest inspiration came from a good friend of mine who owns 6 McDonald's restaurants.
Mm.
And so McDonald's was my inspiration to go keto, so to speak. But my goal was to lose weight to so I looked good for my daughter's wedding. I had never been successful with anything like that. And honestly, my daughter said, you're not really going to stick with this. And that was 3 years ago, and still keto. So lost the 50 plus pounds, walked her down the aisle, one of the greatest moments of my life. And shortly thereafter, I thought, for the first time ever, I felt good enough to exercise. If you've seen my pictures since, you would think like, wow, this guy's probably done this for some time. But it's been 2.5 years that I've been in the gym and loving that aspect of life. And I heard you talking about, finding difficulty to get in the gym. I think we all have those struggles, but it's equally as difficult when I can't. So I I love being able to have that time just for myself and to build and to get rid of some stress, and it's fantastic.
Agreed. And yes, whenever you show side by side pictures or your current pictures, people, I think my comment to you recently was, I think that you found the fountain of youth, because you look years younger now in the photo with.
Oh, absolutely, and that was after losing that weight. So yeah, I feel like I've lost 15 or 20 years easily.
So what are your vital statistics, so to speak, like height? Where did you start out with weight? Where are you now?
So I'm 5'10". I was at about 215. Now I'm about 180, 181. But I got down to about 160. And I've just been putting on muscle, so I'm not really too obsessed with the scale because of that. I recently had a body scan, and not sure of the accuracy of the in body. I think I mentioned that on
Yeah.
a group, but it had me at 13.3%. I'm sure I'm somewhere in the teens.
Mm-hmm.
So 13.3, I would like to think I'm there, but that could be a little low.
Yeah, I mean, just judging from the pictures I see, it's probably not unlikely. But here's my advice for saying body fat percentage when people ask: just tell them you're in the low teens. Because if you say you're in the low teens and you're actually lower, nobody cares. But if you say you're 10 and they think you're 13, everybody cares.
Absolutely. Yeah. 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 Low teens I think I'm in the mid teens actually. So, but low teens would be fine with me.
You definitely have been hitting the gym hard. So tell us, let's dial it back even further. So kind of what would the story be of how did you get to the point where you are, were at your heaviest and not healthy, and what complications did you also have with that health wise? Did you have any prediabetes diagnosis or anything like that?
No, but when I look at my old pictures, it's really sad for me to see because I was not comfortable in my skin. It was hard to find before pictures because I really shied away from the camera and was just not comfortable with myself. Low energy. I felt like I wasn't. Well, I know I wasn't as active as our kids were growing up as I could have been, and now a couple of weeks ago we found out that we're expecting our first grandchild. So I'm looking forward to doing things with my grandchild I didn't have the energy to do with my kids.
So you've already bought the baby barbells to, take to the nursery and things like that.
Very much so. Yes.
That's great.
But that's exciting to think that I can have more energy to do things with my grandchildren than I did with my kids. It's sad, but we can only move forward, and so that's where we are.
Yeah. I mean, that's what it's all about, right? I mean, that's what
Yeah,
I'd say the vast majority of us, those that have kids, it all comes down to being able to keep up with them little monsters. So,
absolutely.
and I've got little tiny ones, well, let's just say little tiny, 9, 7, and 1.5. So it's only getting harder and harder. And I'm keeping up with that 9-year-old is definitely getting harder because she's getting fast.
Yeah, I don't know how anyone who has kids is able to maintain a, a good diet or exercise program. Both of our kids are grown and out of the house, and so our time is our own. So, but I hand it to anyone who is trying to juggle all those things in their lives and still maintain um, some healthy habits in their lives.
I mean, it's a trick for me. Like I said, like I don't really typically enjoy waking up crazy early in the morning. For me, the diet's the easy part because that's, you can control that any time of the day. But the training, now the girls are going back to school or are back in school. So, I try to make it back from the gym as early as possible so I can just help get them ready. Or if Noah wakes up, help get him ready. But so like now, like my schedule is my alarm goes off like at 3:45 in the morning. And I'm at the gym by 4:30 and done by 6, so I can hopefully be home by 6:15. And that's usually by the time the girls get out of the bathroom. And then, after getting ready and stuff, and I just help out in whatever way I can, whether it's, getting the boy or making the coffee or putting the dishes away, whatever I can possibly do. But, I try to be there, I see him off for school. So it's getting rough, man, because I was talking to my wife, we were laughing about it, and we were talking over the weekend. And she's like, "Oh, maybe we'll be able to sleep in tomorrow." And I look at her, and go, there's no more sleeping in. Like, all we have left is go to bed early.
Mm-hmm.
It's very different. We're experiencing empty nest. So what I have to do is try to be protective of our time together. So I'll go into the office very early. Sometimes I'm there by 6, so I can be done by 3, get to the gym, and be home before dinner's ready, and have the evening. It would be easy to spend the evening in the gym, but that's the time that we have together, and we've been married for 35 years, so it's important to protect that time together.
Maybe we can dig deeper into that a little later, because that is absolutely something I know I struggle with it, because my schedule is so opposite my with work, and so any tips and tricks we get from you on that would totally be helpful. But let's keep digging into the health side. So you say that you didn't have any specific diagnoses, but you gained all this weight. Was it just diet or lack of activity? And you're that type of work that you're doing, not being very active, or what do you think contributed most to all that?
So as I said, we've been married for 35 years. When we got married, I weighed 135 pounds, and when I started this, I was at 212. So over those 35 years, the pounds just kind of added up. And as a result of a really sedentary, passive kind of existence, and I'm not athletic at all. So didn't participate in any sports, anything that was really active. I'm a musician, but sitting at a piano bench doesn't burn a lot of calories.
That actually kind of depends on how hard you hit board. And honestly, comparing the two of us, I'm the one that hits the keyboard harder. That's just stylistically, you're classical. I am very definitely
right.
So yeah, the sedentary, being a musician, not really being super active in participatory sports. Now, I would probably counter and say, and hopefully you agree with this, that now, hopefully you realize that you are an athlete. You're just an athlete in the gym, and it just looks different than maybe what people wanted you to be involved with, or what you thought was what you were supposed to be involved.
Chris, like the past few birthdays, I've requested to do things like doing ropes course with our adult children, mm-hmm. and going axe throwing and doing different things that I never in a million years would have considered doing 3 years ago. And that's exciting for me.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
So, so you got into the gym, you got things going activity wise. You got past the wedding. What was it like stepping into the gym that first time, trying to figure out what the heck you were doing?
So I had already lost a lot of weight, so I didn't have that to take in with me, but I definitely felt awkward, but I was ready to I was ready to face it and get going. And I started off doing a 5x5 program where I learned the basic big lifts and good form, and did that for a year, and that was really a fantastic program. And then transition from that to German volume training, which is a little bit more demanding. You're doing 10 by 10, 10 sets of 10 on all the big lifts. And I saw a lot of growth during the 6 months that I did German volume training.
What is it called? German volume? Is that what you said?
German volume training. Yep.
It already sounds evil. No offense to the Germans, but
It's,
It is brutal.
so
it,
what are you lifting right now when you're doing the 10 by 10? And I mean, give us a little bit
so
more.
I'm not doing German. I did that for about 6 months, and the big lifts. You're not, since you're doing 10 sets of 10. You may do 60% of what you could of your one rep max, but when you're doing that many reps, it you can feel it, and you focus a lot on the eccentric motion, the negative. So you would push in on the count of one in 1 second, and then take 3 or 4 seconds to slowly lower that bench press bar down. And so it's you're getting the most out of every one of those reps. So it's very challenging. It can get kind of monotonous because you're doing 10 sets of 10, but it's very, very effective.
So when you're doing all of this, number one, you said that if I heard you right, you weren't in a gym prior. So how did your body uh, welcome this new lifestyle kind of thing? Because I know a lot of guys in the group are like, I want to go join the gym and whatnot, but they go at it gung ho for 4 or 5 days and then they hurt or they've hurt themselves or whatever, and they've defeated the purpose. So how did you find your natural groove with everything?
Well, with the 5x5 program that I did, it had you starting with an empty bar. And so you're not going to kill yourself with that.
Mm-hmm.
And really working on form. I when I went to the gym, I saw guys there that were big. And the one thing I did take from them, I looked around and I saw guys that were big that were doing free weights. I saw people who had weight that seemed to be on the treadmill for an hour at a time. And I thought, okay, of those, not saying that one causes the other, I want to look like that. And so I've not been one to spend a lot of time doing a lot of cardio. I just don't do cardio to speak of, but I have focused on the weights, and I've seen big guys use small weights with control and slowly, and that to me is as impressive as packing on the plates and uh, trying to pump out half a dozen reps. So I've learned a lot from others, but early on, I don't know why I just decided that it was not going to work for me to compare myself to others, because I can't. If I see that guy that looks amazing, I have no idea how much time, what it's taken for him to get there. For me to want that for myself immediately is self-defeating. So I early on realized my only competition is myself, and where I've been, a year ago, 5 years ago, where I am now, where I can be, and I'm on my own journey. So I learned a lot from guys in the gym, but you know, I've fortunately not been one um, that's hampered with that kind of envy. Like, man, if I could just be like that. It's like, no, I probably will never be just like that. I'll
Yeah.
be, the best I can be.
Did you have any issues when you started? You mean even with the 5x5? Did you have any injuries? Did you have to stop anything, or did your plan truly work for you the right way, like it's supposed to?
Well, funny you say that. There was one evening when I was doing a bench, and I had a failure, and it came down and hit me in the mouth, and I ended up in the emergency
Oh,
room. Yeah,
oh,
yeah. So that was pretty humbling. So
this did
uh,
happen after your daughter's wedding, so you didn't have a Photoshop smile or anything, correct?
no, this was well after the wedding. So
Okay.
yes.
You have
But
my
other than that, even yesterday I was at the gym, and I felt like I what I'm doing now is 6 days one day each for shoulders, back, chest, legs, triceps, and biceps. So yesterday was bicep day, and I felt like I kind of strained. So after I got home, I was not feeling well, put some ice on it, and today it's fantastic. So I'm pleased that I'm like recovering pretty well too.
Yeah, that's that part's amazing. The part of dropping a bar on your face definitely not so amazing. I think
Yeah,
we've all had our spectacular gym fails, and I've definitely had my fair share, and that's for sure. So I mean that's understandable. And I think
yeah,
the way you were talking about how your program had you going, you start out with an empty bar and just focus on form, and I think that's a part a lot of people miss. That because I hear the comments a lot like, am I supposed to just stay with this bar? Like it's super light, and you're like, well, just wait, go through the motions, take your time, you'll get there. But just, stick with the program. It'll be hard soon enough. So did you
oh,
have
absolutely.
did you find yourself having any kind of impatience getting going, or you just kind of just trusted the program and run with it?
I really just kind of trusted it. I was I've always been focused on like safety and not getting injured. I don't really do anything with the deadlifts right now. Might pick that up at some point, but that's a lot of stress on your central nervous system and things, and it's not something I'm just real anxious about doing a lot of. So I don't do a lot of deadlifts, but uh, yeah, if you take an empty bar and if you do slow controlled movements, it's amazing how heavy that can feel.
Oh, absolutely. And same goes for body weight work. If that's the route you decide to go, you do body weight work and you focus on your form and going nice and slow, and it can be incredibly difficult.
Right. Yeah, the body weight is one that I've not worked. I've been trying to develop my pull-ups, and that's my biggest shame right now is pull-ups. It's sad. I'm still doing some assisted pull-ups. I can squeak out a few, but so I avoid them. That's my confession. I need to confront my deficit in pull-ups. So
I can't I can't do any at all without assistance, and then even with the assistance, I feel like I'm putting a crap ton of weight trying to counterbalance myself on the assisted machines. So
yeah,
yeah, that's it's definitely a hard movement, and part of it that's hard for me, and that this is why I have to be careful with it. Is there was a period of time when I was at my heaviest, so 280 pounds. I'm trying to do pull-ups. And so I'm like doing negatives, and I ended up hurting my shoulder. So I have to be pretty careful about that particular type of movement. If I'm doing a military press or something like that overhead, I have to be very intentional and slow, and sometimes decrease my amount of weight just to make sure that I'm not putting too much stress on that shoulder, because it's still to this day, and this is years later, it still has just a tinge of something there in the back, it's there on the inside that I can. So, so workout wise, you've moved up, and now you're feeling strong. You've got your deficits, but you're feeling pretty adequate in a lot of areas, and your physique totally shows it. So there's always that. What would you say for someone that is just walking into the gym, just trying to get started? They've just lost that initial poundage. They've got all that energy. They've got to get moving. They got to be doing something. They want to try the gym. What would, if it's a resource that you would recommend, or a piece of advice, what would you tell someone who's trying to get that start?
So I've not had the advantage of working with a trainer. I think that would be fantastic if someone would have that available to them. So I just took a program, the KG 5x5s, and I was not afraid to ask questions of people at the gym. Um, some guys are more than happy to give you some advice, and but just really consistency and not trying to overdo it and load up weights, way ahead. I've done that in the past where I would go to the gym for very short periods of time and just completely burn out. But I've never, the longest I had been at the gym before this was weeks or a few months. So I was pretty intent on not doing that. My wife was she's like, don't go and hurt yourself, whatever you do.
It's a very
So,
wifely thing to say.
yes.
I think I've heard my wife say something similar. Don't die, something like
Don't
that.
die.
So let's talk about food a little bit. You got into the keto diet. You kind of started figuring out what to eat. What was your early favorite? What did you find that you kind of diverted to? What did eating look like?
So early on, I just absolutely loved bulletproof coffees. And I would make the hugest bulletproof coffee that would last me all morning, that had butter and heavy cream in it and MCT oil and pink salt. And it was amazing. And I wouldn't be hungry until later in the day. And I tell people, I think that the focus on the fat helped to get me off of the carbs. I just was not hungry, so I wasn't craving carbs. I don't do that so much anymore, but we typically eat a lot of good protein, good steak, beef tenderloin, salmon, hamburgers. We recently got a Traeger grill, and that's pretty amazing. So we smoked our first brisket this weekend, and I finished that off pretty quickly. So Alberto, he would have been very, very proud of me how much brisket I consumed. So, and of course, bacon and stuff like that. I absolutely, but now we just eat a lot of protein, good protein. Just today for lunch, I had can of tuna, an avocado, some string cheese. Tonight we had uh, hamburger in a foil with some veggies, and uh, so just staying away from the refined uh, carbs, the rice, the potatoes, the breads, pasta. One thing I have not done is I've not been one to do my macros, like count them. My wife is the chef; she's the cook, and I really don't want to put that on her to. So I've watched my carbs, but outside of that, I've not really been very focused on counting macros.
Okay.
Maybe to the detriment, maybe I could have progressed further and faster and more, but it is what it is.
Well, and you're proving that with or without counting your macros, you can absolutely get to your goal with just staying focused on the basics, knowing that knowing what you can and you can't eat, and just not eating what you can't, and
Right.
keeping it simple like that. So I totally, I applaud you. I don't track most of the time. Just to give from my personal experience, I don't track most of the time. I'm tracking right now because I need to know how many calories I've eaten or not eaten for the day, and things like that. That's really what, in the proportions, making sure that the right percentages or ratios. But normally I don't, and I just eat what I know to eat, and so that you can have a lot of really great success eating intuitively within the keto, which I love.
And in 3 years now, if I do something that's off plan momentarily, it's a blip on the radar. I got a text from my wife, kind of a snarky text, and she saw that there was a certain transaction on our bank card, and the text said donuts for breakfast. And absolutely, someone had had donuts for breakfast.
Mm-hmm.
But
I think it's time for you to have your own personal account, sir. But how did your eating habits change, Carlton, from when you were losing weight and doing keto to when you started into the training at the gym? Did you start adding in more protein, or what? How did you shift that?
I think early on I just did a lot of fats, and I kind of got wary of that, and I just transitioned to more protein and more fresh vegetables, and so that was kind of a natural transition for me.
Okay.
Yeah, and another important part to that people seem to overlook is that if you're red meat focused, you're fat heavy by default. As far as the percentages go, like you don't track. So like if you eat gram for gram, you might be eating less fat than protein. But even during the cut, when I was at the lowest, I was roughly 1-to-1. 1 gram of protein for 1 gram of fat. But when you look at the percentage, that was still 67% fat by percentage. So I
Absolutely.
mean, either way, if you're red meat focused, you are by definition high fat. Just but it's by percentage.
Right. So the other thing that kind of plays into this is last November, I found a doctor who was keto friendly in the area, and when I saw him, I talked to him about how I was doing, and one thing that came up was T levels, and he I asked if he would check for my testosterone level, and he was willing to do that, and ultimately prescribed testosterone replacement therapy for me. So since last November, I've been on 200 milligrams a week of testosterone. So, and what I found with that, not so much, I haven't gotten like just bulked up astronomically from that. For me, what I found is the difference in stamina and in recovery. Just like with yesterday, felt like I'd strained a bicep, put some ice on it, and today it's fantastic. I feel like recovery is really good, and stamina in the gym is just really improved a lot. So
What was your
I'm very pleased with that. So yeah, when I started, my T level was about 155, and now I'm around 700.
Okay.
That's 700 is a pretty good number. We have recently had this discussion in the group. I have this, or I see the conversation constantly in my TRT Facebook group, and the everybody is bio individuals. So just like every one of us has to figure out how to do keto for us, we we have to do keto or we have to do TRT for our physiology. So we have to do what we have to do to get it to where it makes us feel best. So if your best is 700 total, now that's one very small piece of the puzzle. We've talked some about that, and we'll probably continue to talk more about it going forward and trying to dive deep into this stuff, because it's important to know that due to our environments, due to our metabolic disease, the derangement that we deal with, all of this stuff that we're exposed to all of our lives growing up or living through the 70, 80, 90, 2000, our testosterone is going to take a hit because we've had so many phytoestrogens and things like that we've been exposed to. And so needing to be on TRT is not anything to be ashamed of. And that's not just because I'm on TRT that I say that. I'm just saying, it's one of those things. It's having low T is not something to be ashamed of. Get over the machismo, get to a good doctor that isn't going to look at a 250 number and go, oh, it's really close to average. Well, we don't want to be average. We want to be optimal. We want to be prime. We're the best that we can. Get you a doctor who's actually going to be balanced. And there's a lot of resources out there, but tell a farm, tell a doctor, however they. So so how has that been? We're talking about close to a year at this point, right? Or a little over a year?
Yeah, almost a year.
Almost a year. So did you? How the question that I get often is, how quickly did you feel the difference?
I think it was a matter of probably a month or two before I started feeling, a real increase in functioning. So, but it took a while. He even though fortunately he was willing to prescribe, he seemed to. I had to pull teeth to get to the number I wanted as far as dosage.
Yeah.
So he wanted a pretty low dose, and that wasn't going. In fact, my T levels were going down because
you were
my
supplementing,
natural
and
system it stopped producing, and it wasn't introducing enough to make up for that. So
Yeah.
so we finally got that within the first couple months, and that's where I'm happy with where that level is. And my wife is a nurse, so I take 100 milligrams in one hip on Wednesday and 100 milligrams in the other hip on Saturday. So that's the way we do it.
Yeah, it's nice having someone else be able to poke the sharp pointy thing into your body. My wife
Yeah,
is not willing to do that for me, so I've got my process down, but it is one of those things doing two injections a week. And for those wondering, if you're doing it in the hip or in the leg, the big muscles, because you want to get it as close as you can to the muscles that are actually interskeletal. So you want it to get real close to the bone, but not all the way to the bone. You're talking about at least an inch-long needle.
Right.
So it's not like this little tiny little insulin thing. The insulin needles are nothing. I give myself HCG with those, and no big deal. I don't feel that at all. So it's. But yeah, the injections, they really aren't that big of a deal, especially if you have someone to help you with it, even if you don't. It takes a little mind over matter at first, but get used to it. So we talked about the working out, we've talked about the food. What were some of your best resources along the way that you found that you either advise people just getting started or resources that you use still?
I think mainly through relationships and people through different groups like Keto Men's Club and just connecting like that and getting some support from others, some encouragement, just to stay positive and stay consistent with it. One thing that's been really affirming for me, as I mentioned, I work in a maximum security prison in Kansas, and the inmates knew me when I was 212 pounds, and they've seen that transition, that transformation, really. And so they think I'm pretty studly, actually. So I'm Dr. Q, and they're like, Dr. Q, you're ripped, man. I'm not ripped, but some of them think that I am. So I've got some pretty good street cred among the felons, let me tell you.
Hey, that there's worse things.
That might be the title of our episode right there. Street cred among the felons.
Yeah,
How about
that's it.
How about mentally with the weight loss and everything like that? Did keto give you that kind of mind clearing and all of that we've heard from other guys?
I don't know that I've experienced that so much. I don't feel like I needed to experience that so much, but I've heard about that, but I can't really endorse that and say that that's been a major thing for me. So, but I've not experienced anything to the detriment of clarity and those things. But that's not personally something that I've experienced.
Okay. You may have already been mentally clear before that, Carlton. We just,
Yeah,
Yeah, I take medication for ADHD, so I do that every day. So
very cool. So so your wife has been doing this with you as well. So that's something that's been very, very helpful. Has she seen similar results? Have you what's that been like? As you've taken on this journey, and then she's kind of coming along with you.
So she's not keto.
Oh, okay. I
She
apologize. I
cooks
misunderstood.
keto for me. It's just the two of us. So she cooks stuff that I can eat, and she's very great about not having a lot of processed foods around the house. She's got her ice cream in the freezer, and occasionally she'll say, "Wait, I didn't eat that ice cream. Where did it go?" But she's a fantastic cook, and so I'm really blessed there, and that she's doing that for me. But she was really my inspiration because she had before I ever lost weight, she had been working on herself and had lost a good amount. And in fact, one day I wouldn't recommend this, but She told me that, as I said, we've been married for 35 years, and she said for the first time she was able to get into a size 6 dress like when we got married. And so I mentioned to her that now they make size 6 dresses bigger than they used to. And that apparently wasn't the right thing to say at that
Ouch.
but so she was my motivation and inspiration, because she had just through what she was doing with exercise and portion control and things, had lost a good amount of weight. So it kind of was caused me to look at myself and say, you need to take care of yourself.
Yep. Very cool. Okay, so let's start winding things down. We've held you for long enough, and all of that. So a couple questions that we ask almost everybody. So first of all, what surprised you the most
About this process?
about the process, about keto, about lifting, any of that stuff?
I think the thing that, when you think about changing your eating habits, you think about feeling hungry and unsatisfied and, wanting something that you can't have. And I just have not experienced that. For me, going to a restaurant, it's not frustrating. It's kind of a challenge. Try to look at their menu beforehand and see, okay, how can I make this work? And make it work, instead of going in and feeling like you're trapped, like, oh, gee, it's an Italian restaurant, I have to eat pasta. No, they have things chicken and things that you can eat. So I think what surprised me is how doable it is and how sustainable it is, which are things we hear the exact opposite about ketogenic lifestyle.
Well, and you're just starving all the time, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
So
you just don't get to
So
eat.
that would probably be the biggest surprise for me.
Okay, very cool, very cool. And now the answer can't be steak, but what's your favorite keto food?
So is beef tenderloin steak?
Technically not.
Yes, beef tenderloin, and she knows how to reverse sear cook it, and it's amazing. It's like butter. But butter is actually another one. I have no qualms at eating a spoonful of butter. Yeah.
Yeah, I might end up doing that myself tonight because I'm low on my fat macro. So that's awesome. It's great. Thank you so much for sharing with us. Any other? So we talked about resources. So that's we covered all the basics with you and then some. So thank you so much for sharing your story. Thank you for doing all that. Any other business to tend to, Berto or Jim?
No, sir. I think we pretty much covered most of it.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, very good. Well, a quick reminder to our listeners: we'll get Carlton's contact information here in a moment, but just a quick reminder: if you found this information valuable, if you think someone in your life might be able to get something from this conversation, be able to amplify or improve or optimize their life based on the experience that Carlton has shared with us today, share this episode with get it out there and let them get the chance to hear the story and see if it and I use it every week. It works so well. I'll have to figure out another expression at some point, but the pebble that makes the avalanche will hopefully you'll be able to share this with some really impact their lives. So that would be awesome. Carlton, how can people get in contact with you if they have questions or they just want to hear more about your story or things like that?
So on Facebook, my Facebook username is Carlton Scott. My last name is Quattlebaum, but when you work in a prison, you don't put your last name on Facebook. My email is Quattlebaum, QUATTLEBAUM, the number 2000 at AOL.com, and we've had that for 20 years. So that's her email.
Okay.
We're sticking with it.
Very cool. Very cool. Okay. Well, that's pretty much it for us this week. Another quick reminder: if you want to get into connect with the group, our Discord server link is there. all of the links for everything, theketomansclub.com. And so we can reach out to us. You can also reach out to us via email, ketomansclubpodcast@gmail.com. And you can leave us a voicemail at 512-518-6161. And so there's lots of ways to connect with us. We'd love to hear from you in whatever way that might be. And so use the links or whatever method you'd like to reach out. And well, that's it for this week. And until next week, make sure to eat meat, lift heavy, sleep, and repeat. Thank you for joining us for the Keto Man's Club podcast. Your support means the world to us. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss an episode. Would you help us spread the word about the Keto Man's Club by sharing with your friends and family? We're available on all podcast platforms, so just search for Keto Man's Club and you'll find us. If you would like to connect with us, you can do so a number of ways. Our web address leads to our Facebook group, theketomansclub.com. That's TheKetoMansClub.com. You can also follow us on Instagram at Keto Man's Club Podcast. Lastly, if you have any comments or questions, feel free to reach out via email to KetoMansClubPodcast@gmail.com. Thank you again for joining us today, and we look forward to hanging out with you again next week.